You know, usually when we think of a casino, the image that immediately comes to mind is, well, pretty standard.
Right, yeah. You picture the flashing neon lights, the rhythmic ringing of the slot machines.
Exactly. Maybe people in evening wear throwing dice across a green felt table, you know?
It's an environment that's engineered for a very specific type of thrill.
Yeah.
Like the glamour of risking it all,
Yeah.
the complimentary drinks, the manufactured suspense.
But what if I told you about a different kind of casino? One with absolutely no neon, no roulette wheels anywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, instead, this casino is filled with exhausted teenagers, stacks of heavy physics textbooks, and just like harsh fluorescent lighting.
That sounds miserable.
It is. And the stakes aren't just a few chips on a table. We're talking about entire family lineages, generational life savings, and, you know, the socioeconomic future of an entire bloodline.
Man, that is a much more terrifying gamble. Because in this casino, I mean, the house doesn't just take your money. It takes your youth. It demands years of your life before you even get to, like, pull the lever.
And that is the exact mechanism we are exploring today in this deep dive. We are unpacking the fascinating, incredibly dark, and honestly, often surprising mechanics of the Indian private education system.
It's a wild ride.
It really is. We're going to explore how this massive, multi-billion-dollar industry intersects with a deeply personal story, one of unrequited love, fierce ambition, and just systemic, institutionalized corruption.
Yeah, and to do this, we are looking at some incredibly vivid source material, specifically excerpts from Chetan Bhagat's novel, Revolution 2020.
The visual framing of this book, I mean, it's vital to understanding what we're about to discuss today.
It really is. It sets the tone perfectly.
I want to describe the cover image provided in our source material for you because it just perfectly sets the stage. Imagine this, like striking silhouette set against a deep pink and crimson sky.
Beautiful but ominous.
Right. You see a love triangle, two men and a woman standing together. But what's really telling is the backdrop.
The location is everything here.
It's the iconic watery landscape of the Varanasi Ghats. You can see a boat floating on the river Ganga, ancient temples rising up behind them, and right there, just stamped across the cover, is the subtitle, Love, Corruption, Ambition.
And that subtitle, you know, it tells you right away that this isn't just some sweet coming-of-age story about high school.
No, definitely not.
It's an exploration of how human desires get tangled up in these massive, flawed institutions. And Varanasi itself, it's the perfect setting.
How so?
Well, it's one of the oldest living cities in the world, right?
Yeah.
A place of intense spiritual purity. But in this narrative, it becomes the backdrop for some of the most pragmatic, ruthless corruption imaginable.
Which brings us to the central hook of our discussion today. I want you, listening to this right now, to hold this question in your mind as we go along.
The big one.
What happens when a student who fails the ultimate life-defining academic test decides that instead of joining a college, he will simply own one?
It is the ultimate pivot.
Yeah, from being completely crushed by a systemic machine to just co-opting that very machine for your own gain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to understand how someone gets to that point, to really grasp that level of cynicism and ambition, we have to understand the crucible that forged him.
Right, the pressure cooker.
We have to look at the pressure cooker of the Indian entrance exam system.
So let's jump right into that crucible. We are introduced to our protagonist, a young man named Gopal, and we immediately hit the harsh numerical reality of the Indian academic landscape.
It is entirely numbers-driven.
Yeah, specifically, we are looking at two major engineering entrance exams, the AIE and the G.
And for those unfamiliar, I mean, these aren't just your standardized tests. These are the singular bottlenecks that basically decide if you are a success or a failure in life.
The stakes literally could not be higher.
It's important to understand the scale here, too. The JE, which stands for Joint Entrance Examination, is the gateway to the Indian Institutes of Technology, or IITs.
The big leagues.
Right, these are the most elite engineering colleges in the country. Then you have the AIE, the All India Engineering Entrance Examination, which is for the National Institutes of Technology, the NITs.
Which are a tier below, but still highly, highly coveted.
Exactly. And we're talking about roughly 1 million test takers competing for just a few thousand seats.
It's mind-boggling, and the source material puts us right in the room with Gopal as he checks his AIE rank. He gets a rank of 52,043.
Let's unpack the math on that for a second.
Yeah, out of roughly 1 million test takers, he's beaten over 900,000 students.
Which is incredible. In almost any other context, like in the US or the UK, being in the top 5% of the nation is a massive achievement. You'd be celebrated.
Oh, you get scholarships, praise, everything. But here, it's an abject failure.
Because there are only about 30,000 seats in the NITs.
Right. He is a statistical success, but a systemic failure. His top 5 percentile score gets him absolutely nothing.
No seat, no recognition, no future.
The cutoff is just ruthless. It doesn't matter if you understand the material. It only matters if you understand it slightly better than the 52,000 people ahead of you.
And the contrast is brutal, because his childhood friend, Raghav, he achieves an all-India JEE rank of 1123.
Wow.
Yeah, Raghav cracks the harder exam, the JEE, and lands in the top tier. Raghav is instantly a local celebrity in Varanasi.
Oh yeah, his photo is printed in the local newspaper. He is the golden boy.
That juxtaposition sets up this incredible inadequacy in Gopal. I mean, you have one boy whose face is in the paper and another who is staring at a computer screen, realizing his life is effectively over at age 17.
But Gopal's father, who is affectionately called Baba in the text, he just refuses to let the dream die.
He's desperate for this to work out.
He decides Gopal needs to take a drop year-like, a year dedicated solely to studying for the exam again. And he sends him into a place that is absolutely legendary and, frankly, somewhat infamous in the Indian education landscape.
Kota.
Yes, a town called Kota.
Kota is the undisputed capital of IIT coaching classes. The sources paint this vivid, almost dystopian picture of this tiny Western Indian town in Rajasthan.
It accounts for a full third of all IIT selections nationwide, which is wild for one small town.
But when Gopal arrives, it's not a place of learning. It's not about curiosity or intellectual growth. It's literally an industrial assembly line.
The economy of Kota is entirely built around the desperation of passing a multiple-choice exam.
Yeah, it's a town of hoardings featuring the faces of successful students plastered everywhere like demigods.
And it's filled with what are called dummy schools, right? Where students are technically enrolled to get their high school diploma but never attend classes.
Exactly. They spend 16 hours a day at their coaching institutes instead.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying about it being a factory, but let me push back a bit just to play devil's advocate here.
Sure, go ahead.
In a country of 1.4 billion people, with a massive scarcity of top-tier university seats, how else do you filter candidates? Isn't this brutal standardization the only objective way to avoid nepotism?
That's a fair point.
Like, if they relied on essays or interviews, wouldn't the rich just buy their way in with consultants and connections?
That is the exact argument used to justify the system, and, on its face it makes sense. The raw score is democratic. A multiple-choice scanner doesn't know your caste, your wealth, or who your father is.
Right.
But what the source material illustrates so clearly is that wealth has simply shifted upstream.
Upstream? What do you mean?
You don't buy the college seat directly, you buy the environment required to get the score. The rich can afford the elite coaching centers in Kota, the air-conditioned hostels, the private tutors.
Oh, I see.
The system claims to be a pure meritocracy, but it's heavily weighted toward those who can actually afford to play the game in places like Kota.
And the coaching institutes know this perfectly well. Reading about the mechanics of these centers places with names like Banzal, Resonance, Career Path, it struck me as exactly like that casino analogy we started with.
Oh, absolutely. The house always wins.
They collect massive, non-refundable fees from hundreds of thousands of desperate families. They literally monetize success. If a student walks in with a high previous rank, they get a discount.
Because they're likely to boost the institute's stats next year.
Exactly. But if you are a repeater like Gopal, a student who has already failed once, you pay a premium.
The sheer commodification of the students is chilling. I mean, when Gopal goes to enroll in Banzal classes, the administration tells him point blank that because of his previous inadequate marks, he has to apply for the full-rate program.
Wow. His past failure translates directly into a higher financial cost.
They don't see him as a student needing help. They see him as a revenue stream. He is subsidizing the education of the top rankers.
And the town of Kota itself reflects this grim reality. Gopal goes to rent a room in a place called the Gayatri Society. The watchman, a guy named Birju, casually tries to upsell him on a room.
Yeah, and when Gopal pushes for something within his meager 2,000 rupee budget, Birju shows him a very specific room.
And Birju casually mentions that a previous student, a boy named Manoj Duda, literally committed suicide in this exact room because he failed the exams.
And the way the watchman talks about it is horrifyingly mundane.
Right. He talks about it like it's just a mild real estate quirk, like, oh, the plumbing is a bit rusty and a kid hung himself from the ceiling fan last year.
It's awful.
Gopal is standing there, an 18-year-old kid already carrying the weight of failure, and he has to rent the suicide room because it's what his family can afford.
It highlights how normalized extreme stress and tragedy have become in this environment. The ceiling fan isn't just a cooling device anymore. It's a constant physical reminder of the ultimate cost of failure.
Yeah.
The town absorbs these tragedies as merely the cost of doing business.
So we have to look at the people feeding this machine, because families are voluntarily throwing themselves into it. Look at Gopal's father, Baba.
Bob is such a tragic figure.
He is. He's a retired government school teacher. He's severely ill, suffering from a respiratory disease, constantly coughing. He desperately needs surgery.
But he refuses to get it.
Right. He ignores his own failing body to fund this gamble. He goes into massive debt to pay for Gopal's coaching in Coda.
He even suggests selling the last of Gopal's late mother's jewelry.
Yeah, there is this deeply poignant moment where Baba tells Gopal, "You join an engineering college and my age will reduce by 10 years.
Man. He is outsourcing the entire family's socioeconomic mobility, their dignity, and his own literal physical survival to a teenager's ability to solve trigonometry and physics problems under extreme pressure.
Which is an impossible burden. You have to imagine being Gopal here. You are isolated in a sweltering, depressing room where a kid previously ended his life.
Yeah.
And you know your father is coughing his lungs out back in Varanasi because he gave your medical money to a coaching institute called Career Path.
And Career Path, they divide students into batches based on their test scores.
Right. They have a literal hierarchy.
The top batch is called the GEMS, the group of extra meritorious students. They get the best teachers, the royal treatment. The rest are essentially what the text calls sucker students who just fund the operation.
It's a brutal caste system based entirely on test percentiles.
And this immense crushing academic pressure, it doesn't stay confined to the classroom. It bleeds directly into the character's personal worth and their relationships.
Which is the perfect transition into that emotional core, because this is where we really dive into that love triangle we saw hinted at on the book's cover.
Yes, Gopal and Aarti.
Gopal has this lifelong, unrequited love for Aarti. Now, Aarti is the daughter of the local district magistrate in Varanasi, which places her in a significantly higher social strata than Gopal.
Their history is incredibly intertwined, and the source material gives us this brilliant, telling origin story from when they were in the 5th grade.
The cake incident.
Yes. Gopal, who doesn't have a mother to pack him a lunch, steals a piece of chocolate cake from Aarti's fancy imported pink tiffin box.
He throws a massive fit, right? Gets him slapped by the teacher in front of the whole class.
But then later they become best friends. It's such a specific detail, but it perfectly sets up their entire dynamic.
How so?
Well, Gopal is always the underdog, always the one lacking something, whether it's cake, money, or a high test score. And Aarti is this bright, somewhat privileged, but affectionate presence who holds all the cards.
Ah, I see. As they grow up in Varanasi, their bond is cemented by these incredibly intimate dawn boat rides on the Ganga.
Yeah, the text describes Gopal rowing the boat with his bare hands just to spend time with her, to impress her.
That sounds exhausting against the current.
It is. And during these rides, Gopal explicitly states his ambitions. He doesn't want to be an engineer out of any passion for science. He wants to be a rich man, a big man.
But Aarti keeps him firmly in the best friend zone. When he tries to kiss her on the boat one time, she pushes him away. She says, "I don't see you that way."
Ouch.
Yeah, and this romantic rejection is happening right around the time he fails his first entrance exams.
The psychological merging of these two events is critical. I mean, Gopal's academic failure and his romantic rejection become entirely intertwined in his mind.
They feed into each other.
Exactly. When Raghav, who is the classic golden boy, tall, athletic, and an IIT topper, starts getting closer to Aarti, Gopal's feelings of inadequacy just explode.
You can see this explosion so clearly in the MSN Messenger chats detailed in the book.
Oh, MSN Messenger. Such a throwback.
Such a great artifact of the era, right?
Yeah.
The mid to late 2000s, Gopal is isolated in Coda, paying by the minute at a dingy, hot cyber cafe, and his screen name is Gopal Coda Factory.
A very telling screen name. He recognizes his own commodification. He knows he's just raw material being processed.
Right. Meanwhile, Aarti's screen name is Flying Aarti because she dreams of becoming an air hostess. Gopal waits online for hours, just desperate for a connection to his old life.
And when they finally chat, she casually mentions She's at the BHU campus.
BHU is Banaras Hindu University, the prestigious college Raghav got into.
She tells Gopal she's using Raghav's computer center because it's fast, and that Raghav is treating her to canteen food.
The geography of their separation is profound here. Think about the physical spaces. Gopal is in exile in the harsh, dry environment of Kota, in the factory.
Right.
While Aarti and Raghav are enjoying the spoils of success back in the lush, beautiful BHU campus in Varanasi, Gopal is literally and figuratively shut out of the winner's circle.
And the breaking point comes when she reveals that she and Raghav are getting close. She calls Raghav Mr. BHU in the chat.
Oh man, that sets him off.
Gopal completely loses his temper. He types in aggressive, vulgar language. He's so deeply hurt that she chose the guy with the JE rank over him that he lashes out.
And she blocks him. She removes him as a contact. It's a digital door slammed right in his face.
Which forces us to examine Gopal's underlying motivations. Like, is his drive for wealth and power genuinely about providing for his sick father? Or is it simply a desperate, wounded attempt to become a big man to win Aarti back from Raghav?
That's the million-dollar question.
He begins to equate his lack of a rank with his lack of worth as a romantic partner. He believes that if he were a winner in the system, he would have the girl.
I want to push back on Gopal's mindset here, though.
Okay.
Is he just being a petty, jealous teenager, or is the system actually validating his worldview? Because society is treating Raghav like a king based purely on his test score.
The tragedy is that the system does validate his worldview. In a hyper-competitive society, human value is often directly correlated with academic and professional metrics.
So he's not entirely wrong.
No, Gopal isn't imagining the difference in how Raghav is treated versus how he is treated. He's observing it. But his reaction is what sends him spiraling.
And the fallout is brutal. After she blocks him, Gopal gives up. He stops doing his daily practice sheets for the coaching center. He stops going to the cyber cafe.
He starts hanging out at a roadside tea stall with a cynical second-time repeater named Pratik.
Yeah, they start drinking cheap old monk rum in Pratik's messy, claustrophobic room. And Pratik delivers this gut-wrenching monologue.
What does he say?
He tells Gopal, "We are losers. We don't get things easily. Marks, ranks, girls, nothing is easy for us."
Pratik acts as a voice of dark pragmatism in the story. He points out the mathematical absurdity of the system they are trapped in. I mean, the selection rate is less than 3%.
It's basically a lottery.
Right. But families won't accept basic probability. They believe effort guarantees success. So the students drink to numb the reality that they are statistically designed to fail, no matter how hard they work.
And fail he does. Gopal takes the exams again at the end of his drop year. The JE goes terribly, and his AIE rank comes back at 44,342.
It's another failure. He spent a year in hell, spent his father's medical money, and hasn't moved the needle enough to get a seat.
Which brings him to absolute rock bottom.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You return to Varanasi. You have failed the exams again. Your father, Baba, discovers the failure. He is heartbroken. He slaps you in a moment of sheer despair.
And then, tragically, his illness overcomes him, and he dies shortly after.
At the funeral, the loan sharks who funded the Kota trip are literally standing there demanding their money. You have massive debts, a dead father, a broken heart, and no academic future. The front door of meritocracy is permanently slammed shut, so where do you go?
When the front door is locked, and you are fueled by that level of desperation and grease, you start looking for the back door.
And Varanasi, as it turns out, has a very wide back door for people willing to step through it.
Which brings us to the dark underbelly of private education. Gopal is now an orphan and a failure. A friend named Vinny tells him to stop crying and just join a private engineering college.
They go to a career fair at the Dr. Sampuranan Sports Stadium. And this scene at the career fair is an incredible piece of sociological observation.
It really exposes the absolute commodification of higher education in the 2000s.
It strips away all the noble rhetoric about education and reveals the raw capitalism underneath. Gopal goes to this fair with an event manager named Sunil.
And Sunil's a real character.
Yeah. They are walking past stalls for colleges with names that sound completely fabricated. Sunil is teaching Gopal how to read the college brochures, and he doesn't look at the faculty qualifications or the laboratory equipment.
He calculates the ROI.
The return on investment.
Yeah.
Sunil points out, tuition $50,000, hostel $30,000. You pay a lakh a year for 4 years.
And for context, a lakh is 100,000 rupees. So a single student represents 4 lakhs of guaranteed revenue over a 4-year degree.
The students walking around the stadium are no longer learners. They are highly lucrative commodities.
And then we get the literal physical brawl.
Oh, this part is wild.
It is one of the most absurd and revealing moments in the source material. Gopal wanders over to the stall for the Sri Chintamal group of institutes. The dean, a man named Jyoti Verma, is pitching him hard.
Right.
Then, a guy from the neighboring Sri Ganesh stall marches over. His name is Mahesh Verma. They are brothers.
Wait, really? The rival colleges are run by brothers?
Yes, they had a family fight, split up their business empire, and now they are ruthlessly poaching students from each other's stalls.
And we have to look at their background. These are not academicians. They're not professors with PhDs. They are liquor barons.
They made their money selling country liquor, and now they are deans of education.
Jyoti offers Gopal a seat for $50,000 a year. Mahesh overhears and immediately offers a 10% discount. They start screaming at each other.
Mahesh rips down the Chintamal banner. Jyoti calls his security goons over.
A literal fistfight breaks out over Gopal's physical body. Gopal gets pushed in the melee, falls onto a table with a protruding nail, and gets a bloody cheek. He literally bleeds for a college seat before he's even enrolled.
It is a dark, tragicomic illustration of the system. I mean, why do liquor barons and real estate developers pivot to education?
Good question.
Because it offers massive land banks, it offers a way to park unaccounted wealth, and crucially, it offers social prestige.
Ah, right.
You transition from being a shady liquor salesman to an esteemed chairman of an educational trust. Education is just another product to them, no different from alcohol, just with a better public image and tax exemptions.
But I have to ask, and this is the question Gopal asks Sunil later. By law, every educational college in India has to be incorporated as a nonprofit trust or society. You cannot legally run a university for corporate profit.
Right, that's the law.
So how are these liquor barons and builders making so much money if the law explicitly requires them to be nonprofit?
The nonprofit label in this specific context is often a legal fiction, an elaborate smokescreen.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding how that smokescreen works is the exact mechanism that transforms Gopal from a victim of the system into a master of it.
So let's look at how he builds his empire on corruption. Gopal realizes that he actually has one major asset.
The land.
Yes, he is sitting on 30 acres of disputed agricultural land on the Lucknow Highway, inherited from his family. He realizes that this land gives him the ultimate leverage.
He doesn't need to pay these liquor barons to join a college. He can start his own.
Exactly. So he partners with a local politician, MLA Raman Lal Shukla.
MLA stands for Member of Legislative Assembly, a state-level politician with immense local power. MLA Shukla is a fascinating, terrifying figure.
He operates with total impunity, right?
Completely. His house is heavily guarded, filled with sycophants waiting for favors, and he orchestrates everything from the shadows. When Gopal is brought to him by Sunil, Shukla immediately sees potential of Gopal's land, especially because it's near an upcoming airport project.
But there's a massive roadblock. Gopal doesn't actually control the land. His corrupt uncle, Ghanshyam, has been squatting on it for 12 years, refusing to give Gopal his legal half-share.
And Baba, Gopal's father, had tried the legal system for years, and it completely failed him. The courts were too slow.
So how does the MLA handle a decade-old property dispute? Does he hire better lawyers? Does he file a new motion?
Not at all. He bypasses the legal system entirely. He uses loan shark goons.
The chilling pragmatism here is staggering. Shukla's men go to the uncle's house. First, they escalate the intimidation slowly.
Yeah, they pour ghost blood on the balcony.
Then they slash all the furniture in the house. Finally, when the uncle still refuses to yield, the uncle's 4-year-old grandson, Bitu, suddenly goes missing from his nursery school.
They kidnap a toddler, a 4-year-old boy.
The uncle is terrified and comes crying to Gopal in the middle of the night, and this is a defining moment for Gopal.
It really is.
Gopal, who used to be this sensitive kid crying over a piece of chocolate cake, crying over his dad, just stands there cold as ice and says, "Do you value the land more or Bitu?"
It's ruthless.
After 3 days of the child being missing, the uncle breaks. He signs away the 30 acres for a mere 8 lakhs, which is a tiny fraction of its actual value. Bitu is returned unharmed, and Gopal has his land.
This is the moment Gopal crosses the moral Rubicon. To succeed in this new world, he realizes he must abandon his morality. He trades his innocence for power.
Yeah.
He accepts that violence, extortion, and kidnapping are just the tools of the trade if you want to bypass the massive bureaucracy and corruption of the system.
And once the land is secured, the financial education begins. The MLA brings in a consultant named Beatty to explain how they're actually going to make money if the college has to be a nonprofit trust.
Beatty explains the mechanics of extracting cash from a seemingly airtight legal structure.
Let's break down exactly how that works, because I was fascinated by this. How do you get the money out of the black hole?
Beatty explains a few methods. First, construction. You ask the contractor building the college to inflate the bill. If the building actually costs 10 crores, the bill says 15 crores.
Okay, so the trust pays the 15 crores from the tuition fund, and the contractor secretly hands back 5 crores in untraceable cash to the trustees.
Exactly. Second, capitation fees. You collect certain admission fees in pure cash from desperate parents and simply never enter them into the official books.
Just off the record entirely.
Right. You show ghost faculty on the payroll and pocket their salaries. The opacity of the trust makes it perfect for siphoning funds.
I want to track the literal flow of bribe money here because the numbers are staggering. By the time they have their foundation ceremony for the new college, which they name Ganga Tech, Gopal calculates that they have spent over 72 lakhs just on bribes.
72 lakh rupees. That's 7.2 million rupees. For everything from electricity connections to labor approvals.
And what's truly unsettling is the terrifying casualness with which these massive bribes are handled.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's a scene where Gopal goes to the Varanasi Nagar Nigam, the municipal corporation office, to get the agricultural land officially rezoned for educational use.
Right.
They meet a deputy corporator named Sinha. Shuklaji literally hands Gopal a heavy plastic bag containing 10 lakh rupees in cash. 10 lakhs in a plastic grocery bag.
And Sinha's reaction isn't shock or fear of getting caught. He actually haggles for more.
Yes.
He looks in the bag and says 10 is too little, it should be 15. They eventually settle on 12.5 lakhs. They bargain over a massive bribe like they're haggling over the price of vegetables at a street market.
That's the part that blew my mind, how normal this immense corruption is treated by everyone involved. The consultant, Betty, tells Gopal, any government work, especially in education, requires a fee. Get used to it.
It's just the cost of doing business. The UGC inspectors, the AICTE approvals, these are the national councils that regulate technical education. Every single official signature requires an envelope of cash.
It creates an ecosystem where only the corrupt can survive. If you try to build a college, honestly, without paying the bribes, your file will just sit on a desk forever. You'll be bled dry by endless bureaucratic delays.
Exactly. The system actively selects for people like MLA Shukla and this newly hardened, cynical version of Gopal.
But I have to ask, how do auditors miss this? How does the government not crack down on this massive shadow economy?
Because the auditors and the government inspectors are part of the ecosystem. When the AICTE inspectors come to approve Ganga Tech, they are hosted in luxury hotels, given expensive gifts, and handed their envelopes of cash.
Wow.
The regulatory bodies designed to stop the corruption are the very ones profiting from it.
So Gopal fully embraces this dark path. He becomes a big man. He is officially the director of Ganga Tech Engineering College. And as he rises in this murky world, the story brilliantly contrasts him with the very person he is trying to outshine.
Raghav.
Exactly. Which brings us to the philosophical core of the deep dive. Idealism versus pragmatism.
This contrast is essential. This isn't just a story about how to build a corrupt college. It's a fundamental debate about how to live in a profoundly flawed society.
Let's look at Raghav's path. Raghav is the one who did everything right. He cracked the JE. He got into the elite BHU. He is the golden boy.
But once he's there, he realizes he doesn't want to be an engineer. He wants to be a journalist. He wants to be an activist and change the world.
Which is incredibly frustrating to Gopal. Gopal looks at Raghav and sees a guy throwing away the very prize that Gopal destroyed his own life and his father's life trying to attain.
Raghav takes this immense privilege of a top-tier engineering seat and pivots to campus activism.
Yeah, Raghav launches a revamped campus magazine called BHU Camp, which translates to Earthquake. And the launch event is spectacular. He has students in black tights with skeleton bones painted in ultraviolet paint dancing on stage to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror.
If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. It's a bit on the nose, but it is the ultimate anthem of youthful idealism.
And Raghav actually delivers on the journalism. His first cover story is a heavy-hitting expose on the terrible conditions in the college hostel kitchens.
Oh yeah, he prints high-resolution photos of cockroaches on the floor and mess workers kneading the roti dough with their bare feet.
Oh, gross.
He causes an absolute uproar on campus. He believes in fighting fair. exposing the truth and forcing the system to clean itself up through transparency.
But this idealism comes at a steep cost. Raghav decides to run for University General Secretary, a major student politics position, and he loses.
Why does he lose? Because he refuses to horse trade with the other hostile leaders. He refuses to participate in the corrupt backroom deals that are universally required to win student elections in that environment.
He believes that if you don't fight fair, the victory is meaningless.
Exactly.
I want to play devil's advocate again here. Isn't Raghav just being stubborn and ineffective? He has this pure moral high ground, but he loses the election, which means he has no actual power to change the system he's complaining about. Doesn't his purity make him useless?
That is exactly the argument Gopal makes. This is where the philosophical clash between the two men hits its peak. Gopal tells Raghav, life doesn't work like that. Gopal, who has been hardened by failure, by the death of his father, by loan sharks and kidnappings, looks at Raghav and basically says that idealism is a luxury for the privileged.
Gopal tells him that Varanasi has been absorbing the world's sins for centuries, floating them down the Ganga, and nobody cares about fixing it.
Gopal represents survival at all costs. He learned in the Coda factory that the system doesn't care about your effort or your morals. It only cares about the result, the rank, the money.
So if the front door is locked, you blow up the wall and walk in through the rubble.
While Raghav represents the belief that the way you achieve something is as important as the achievement itself, Raghav argues that if you use corrupt means to gain power, you become the very disease you're trying to cure.
The tension is so palpable at Raghav's graduation party. Just picture this scene. Raghav's parents are away, there's cheap beer and rum flowing, and they have a graduation cake with a mechanical gear shape on it to celebrate finishing engineering.
But look at where our characters are standing in life at this exact moment.
Yeah, Raghav is taking a standard corporate IT job at Infosys. He is desperately clinging to his journalism dreams, having lost his political election, and he's facing the grim reality of the corporate grind.
He is an idealist who is slowly being worn down by the real world.
Meanwhile, Gopal arrives at the party in a chauffeur-driven car. He is the director of Ganga Tech. He's dealing in tens of lakhs of rupees daily, rubbing shoulders with MLAs and bureaucrats, building a massive institution.
He's an academic dropout who now literally employs people with the very degrees he couldn't get.
And Aarti is still caught right in the middle of them. She is officially dating Raghav, but at the party she is playfully smearing cake on Raghav's face while shooting these confusing, lingering glances at Gopal.
She even pulls Gopal aside and tells him, "You were always a big man to me, because you have a big heart."
Which just twists the knife for Gopal, because he knows he's traded a massive chunk of that heart, his innocence, his morality, for the power he now wields. He kidnapped a kid, he bribes politicians daily.
That's tragic.
So I ask you, looking at this source material, who is actually winning here? Raghav, with his clean conscience and his cubicle job? Or Gopal, with his dirty hands and his massive empire?
It's the ultimate paradox presented by the text. The sources reveal a deeply, structurally flawed society. The front door, the meritocracy of the AIE, the grueling years in Coda, the belief that studying hard will save you, is brutally narrow.
It destroys families, drives students to suicide, and bankrupts sick parents.
It's an illusion of fairness, a lottery ticket disguised as a meritocracy.
Precisely. While simultaneously, the back door, the world of corruption, political favors, kidnapping, and plastic bags full of cash, is wide open and for anyone willing to lose their soul.
Gopal started as a total victim of the system. He was chewed up and spat out by the Coda factory. But he survived by becoming its master.
It really makes you think about the systems of meritocracy that you and I participate in daily. We all take tests, apply for jobs, jump through institutional hoops. We like to believe these systems are purely merit-based, that the cream rises to the top.
But how often are we just playing a rigged game without realizing it?
And it forces us to ask a very uncomfortable question. What is the cost of success when the game is rigged? Is it better to lose with your integrity intact, like Raghav in his election, or win by adopting the ruthless tactics of the people who hold the power, like Gopal?
It's a heavy question, and a necessary one to examine if we truly want to understand how these massive systems operate.
I want to leave you, our listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. We look at a character like Gopal and we judge his corruption. But if a society sets impossible, arbitrary metrics for success metrics, like a 30,000-seat limit for 1 million applicants, inherently designing 97% of people to fail, is corruption just a natural evolutionary adaptation for survival?
Wow. When the rules of the game are rigged from the start, does cheating become the only rational choice?
We started this conversation talking about a casino with no neon lights, where teenagers gamble with their families' futures. But the real trick of a casino isn't that the odds are mathematically against you. The real trick is convincing you that if you just play long enough, if you just study hard enough, you can beat the house.
But as Gopal learned the hard way, the only real way to win in a rigged casino is to buy the building.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.